Hey guys, welcome back to the Pathway. We're going to be joining you today. It's Taylor Henrick and Sarang Patel.
Hey guys.
And today we're going to be talking about schedule changes, summertime, moving from the school year to the summer, and how we help our clients navigate this time.
Let's get it.
So, what do you think? I'm excited today to talk about transitions in our schedules, preparing for the summer, coming off of the school year, how it affects kids, parents, adults, you name it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a big thing we see right now for obviously our patients, but also us as well.
I figured an apt topic, right?
Right.
So, not only is the season changing, we're going from spring to summer, but how does this affect different populations? Let's think about young kids, adolescents, teens and adults, and then adults caring for those individuals. Transition times, schedule changes definitely cause strife and it causes consternation. There are certain populations of mental health clients that are going to struggle more than others. What do you see in your own practice? What do you think are some difficulties that are faced?
I mean, we talked about it before. I think sleep, right, is a big thing. So I won't go into too much detail on that again. But I would say the biggest thing is sleep for our kids, right?
Yeah.
For the patients and our kids, obviously, some adults as well, right? Depending if you're a teacher, for instance, right? But when you lose that sense of routine and schedule, you have to wake up in the morning because you have to get to school. Your parents wake you up, or you have to get to work on time. Then you can sleep in. And from waking up at maybe 5:36, maybe 7, right? Now you say, I can sleep till 8:30, 9, 10. And then, of course, you're not going to be able to fall asleep maybe at 9 o'clock that you'd like to at nighttime. So then you're kind of, it's like that circadian rhythm gets all kind of messed up. I kind of feel like during the summer months, sometimes I am having to add more meds for sleep, actually, because people can't get it together, in that sense, because of the schedule.
I absolutely agree. Whether it's something as needed or something over the counter, it seems like this is a time of year where sleep is definitely impacted, whether it's because it's shifted back or loss of routine. So staying up late one night, going to bed early the next night, et cetera, waking up early for a trip, whether you do have responsibilities during the summer or not. So for our younger population, let's talk like 6 to 11. Okay, so let's start with the pediatric population per se that we might treat in the clinic. What are some of the other factors that you see that are impacted during that time other than sleep when you're transitioning from, let's say, school year to summertime?
Lack of structure, which
Yeah.
I guess sleep is a form of structure, right, still. But a lack of daytime structure, I think, can lead to behaviors, can lead to just outbursts in general, right? Whether it's verbal, physical. So I would say that the biggest thing is that lack of structure for a lot of our kids, whether you have a diagnosis of ADHD or actually any diagnosis at all, I think leads to some more issues. And then at least we get, those are the more of the complaints or concerns that we get from parents, especially. They're saying, hey, what do we do at this point, right?
Yes.
I think the hardest part about it is that we don't always have the best solution either. You can try to say, hey, try to like do camps, try to do activities, you try to keep some sort of structure, but naturally you're going to lose some of the routine. And I think one thing to keep in mind is that this is not like a, hey, everyone fits in this criteria or this box, right? Sleep as well.
You got
An
it.
example I'll give you is, for myself, for instance, maybe compared to you, I think we're a little bit different there, right? Is I may not have to worry about if I sleep in today, tomorrow I can get back on my routine pretty good. Like it's pretty easy to do, right? I can flip on a switch. A lot of people can't. So I think you have to customize the information we give based on the person, right? If they can't flip that switch to get their sleep pattern better, then we shouldn't recommend that, right? Then we should have to
Absolutely.
make sure we get that figured out.
That's where it takes some motivational interviewing to work with that young pediatric patient and their parent to figure out, okay, what are you doing now that's working? What did you do during the school year that worked? And then extrapolate that onto the summer. So lack of structure is a big one. What do you think about trying to keep a semblance of structure during the summer? Do you ever endorse that for parents and for pediatric patients?
Yeah, I think whether you can get your stuff together after like one bad night of sleep or lack of structure this week and then next week they do pretty well with it, I still tell people, hey, try to keep your routine. A lot of times because I'm prescribing medication, so we're saying a lot of these meds may be time specific that you need to do, so try to keep a good structure with that. But also keep somewhat of a structure. Like sleep in and let your kids sleep in, for instance, but maybe not too much to the point where like now they're waking up at noon and they can't sleep at all till 1 or 2 in the morning the next day, right? So, or that day. So you kind of want to give some sort of a structure, I think, in that sense. Some medications, I do recommend that if the patient can go without, for instance, kids can go without a stimulant this summer, I might say, hey, maybe hold it this summer if they don't need it. A lot of parents can do, a lot of kids can do that, just depending on the situation. But yeah, somewhat of a structure I think is really important throughout the summer, although it's way more challenging.
It is. I encourage it quite often for my clients, especially those ADHDers or those with any level or any acuity of anxiety. I believe that, whether it's a day camp, whether it's activities, whether it's trips, or as simple as waking your kid up and taking them to the library, like let them go read for a little bit or do something that is structured and quiet and requires sustained mental effort. I feel like some of those activities can go a long ways towards helping that structure. We talked a little bit about ADHD, sleep, and the impact that we might see. What about anxiety? There are some provoking factors, I feel, during those transition times where a younger individual, even in that 6 to 11 range, not even talking about adolescence yet, where the loss of structure and the change of leaving school actually provokes anxiety. It may seem inverse or incongruent to the situation. One would think that a client would be more relaxed, more calm heading into the summer, but I feel like my clients a lot of times get a little bit angsty about like they're already thinking about the next school year. Maybe they're graduating from elementary to middle school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
During those times, do you see that as well?
Yeah, I think what I indirectly thought about when you said that was a lot of it can depend on the child's home dynamics, right? Mm-hmm. So if the home is a stressful environment, whether the parents are splitting up or whether there's turmoil at home, the child feels that, right? Mm-hmm. Or children can feel that, I should say. So that may provoke some anxiety by saying like, okay, when they're at school, they're kind of like removed from that stressor, that anxiety-provoking stressor at home, and they don't really see that.
You got it.
So a lot of times I think I've noticed a lot of kids that we see that they'll say like, I'm more anxious at home, or they may not tell you they're more anxious, but you'll kind of see these anxiety symptoms. You have to also question like, what's the dynamic at home, which is where I don't necessarily get into the weeds in that sense, but I do tell the parents like, we need to get into therapy here to figure out and spend more time on this to figure out what the exact problem is here at home,
You got it.
That could be one thing. A lot of times some of the anxiety is like they may not see their friends as much as they want to because although live in the same town, it's kind of hard to get together. Everyone's financial dynamics may not be that they're going to get to the same camp, right? Whatever the situation may be. So I think that can kind of cause some anxiety stressors there as well.
Yeah, some sense of isolation or seclusion.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Transitioning now from our pediatric population. So let's talk 12 to 17, okay? So this population, it's a good segue you just mentioned, like friend dynamics, spending time with groups, feeling left out, FOMO, right? Can definitely affect this population. You're going to see the same factors. You're going to see lack of structure being an issue. You may see summer job now being introduced, mm-hmm. right? So summer activities, stuff like that. Obviously, at this point, maybe athletics or community groups get a little bit more involved. There's camps, there's training, there's mm-hmm. off-season, things you have to consider for that population. Or even if it's something like band, there's orchestra, or again, camps and activities that you're involved in. And whether it be something outside of those, we have to now cake that in. So parents, I find, and even the adolescents are like, yeah, it's summer, but I'm so busy. Yeah. Like I have so much going on. I'm working 40 hours a week at the local ice cream shop. I'm doing off season for this, that, or the other. It's a really busy time. What do you see? Same kind of thing?
Yeah, I think sometimes, and this is a good question I want to ask you too, is I thought about it, is you kind of want them to have structures, which means sometimes you add more stuff to their plate. Mm-hmm. This age range, whatever it is, whether, like you said, sports, camps, homework stuff, still studying throughout the summer if you can, right? Obviously work. What's your take on it where, and I don't really know the answer to this question though, but do you recommend that the kid, or would you want that age range, 12 to 17, right? I told them I'll be a little younger.
Yeah.
But to try to have some sort of a summer job, whether you financially, and it's different. If you financially need the money as a family, different story. Mm-hmm. But whether you financially need it or your family is fortunate, you don't need the finances there. Do you think it's still a good recommendation personally to have the kid go to work, have a summer job?
Speaking from personal experience, the answer is yes.
Okay.
For one reason and one reason alone: time management. It is about responsibility, but I would key in even more on time management. To be able to manage a job at that age range and like kind of learn some of the do's and don'ts to work in an adult environment was incredibly helpful for me personally. And I think it benefited me when I then was in a work environment, having already dealt with difficult personalities, individuals who are discontented at work. Before that point, you're not exposed to people who are just like complaining about what they're doing constantly, or really, really take pride in what they do in any setting. So for me, it was a really good eye-opening experience to get that before I was even 18.
Yeah. Good answer.
But good question. I appreciate you bringing that up. The adolescent population, you're navigating a lot and preparing them for the next school year and then preparing them for adulthood.
Yeah.
It's a transition time. I feel like they maybe have a little bit more enjoyable time during their summers. There's so much going on and people inviting and friends and vacations, you name it, or just being able to partake in activities at home. A lot of people feel comfortable with that.
Yeah.
As we look at now graduating from high school, okay, or moving on beyond diploma, moving into the majority, now 18 and up, whether it's college, skilled trade, joining the workforce. How do these individuals, I guess in this conversation, more so focusing on educational aspects and having a summer off, how do these individuals manage being off of school?
Well, I think it depends because I think in this age range, a lot of these individuals still have to work, right? Because you may be living on your own, you may have family at this point. Some may have, right? Just depends on the situation, or taking care of their family because their parents may be older, whatever the situation may be. So I think for this age range, a summer job is important. I think time management is really important too, which you brought up, which I would have answered, and I think before too. But also for this age range is maybe it's a little bit too late, but understanding the value of $1, right?
Yeah.
So I think at this point, it's really important to know like. You may have been on student loans or you may have been living with your parents, whatever it is. Now you need to understand this is the cost of a cell phone bill, this is the cost of rent, this is the cost of utilities, things that I don't think you see until you're forced to kind of be there. And then you're like, wait, no one ever taught me this, right? Total big segue, but I'll mention anyways. I think this is where our friend group, right, and anybody we've ever talked to has always said, how come in school we never learn about this stuff, the real life stuff? Why doesn't anyone tell us like how to balance our books, or how does a credit card work, right, or how does a credit card statement work, or all this kind of stuff?
How do I pay for health insurance?
Exactly, right? No one talks about it until it's too late, until you're in it, and then you're like, oh, now what?
Yeah.
Right? And some people are fortunate your parents can kind of like guide you through at that point. A lot of people can't. So you're figuring it out by having errors. When we really could have just taught you this earlier and not had those errors, right? So that should be a required class, I would say.
Right.
Just throwing it out there for those who are listening, that's a required class.
You're going through a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
You're going from not necessarily being responsible for oneself to being responsible for every decision you make. Your parents may help you out, and in some instances, they may not. Some people hit 18 and they're kind of on their own, right? Yeah. We've seen that, heard that, helped clients through that. Some individuals have really good familial or friend group related supports. But whether you do or not, you're now responsible. Right. Whether it's financially, you have to pick your classes, you have to go to class, you have to do things now. Nobody's telling you what to do necessarily.
Right.
You're responsible for your own actions, and there's going to be a consequence or a reaction to whatever you choose. That's a big shift.
I think it's a big shift. And I always, I think it depends how you're raised, right? A little bit too, right? Culture, I think, plays a big role, honestly, I would say that I always tell patients, and I always talk to us, right? We talk as friend group, I always say, well, you have to remove that safety net. A lot of times I think a problem is that we as parents continue to still give that safety net. So a child always feels like, okay, if I can kind of push the limits a little bit here, if I can kind of do this, I still have them to fall back on. But again, that's how you're raised, right? A little bit differently. Everyone's a little bit different too. I'm always an avid believer, like you have to remove that safety net. Now, if you can protect them from falling and getting hurt, of course, that's your try to do as a parent. But the biggest thing is they need to understand the consequences of it, right? The sequela that if you do X, Y, and Z action, this could be the outcome.
Yes. I want to introduce one more thing for this age range. Two things that just came to mind is one, this is also internship range. Oh, yeah. So now you're thinking about involving yourself in a larger body or a larger group of individuals who, again, may be more technical, more business minded. So you're going to learn a lot of life skills in those settings.
Right.
And another factor to consider is not dissimilar to what I did, going to school away from home. Returning home feels very different. Going home for that first summer after college is a very different time. And there's a lot of different factors that kind of make you feel different about where you grew up. And I'm not saying different in a bad way or good way. I'm just saying it changes, right? Not like now you feel as though a lot of your life is in a different area and you're looking forward to getting back to that. But you're going home to a life that you've had and you're comfortable and you may see friends and family, but it's a different feeling for sure. And so that's something that as our clients feel, they navigate it. Whether it's a client who, goes away for the school year and then I maintain them during the summer, they mention how coming home, but I'm looking forward to August. I'm ready for the next semester. It's a different feeling for sure.
Do you feel like, because you and I are both different right here, but do you feel like it's personal experience wise, having that you went away for college and then that first summer, like you said, going back home, do you feel like it's important for individuals in this age range to actually experience what it feels like to leave and then come back, or to leave in general? Or do you feel like it doesn't necessarily matter?
It benefited me. I felt like I grew a lot as an individual when I not got away from home, but experienced a different setting altogether. It opened my eyes. It broadened my horizons. I was able to get exposed to more culture, ethnicity, you name it, just different personalities, different individuals that helped me grow as a person. as an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old,
Yeah.
like just charting my own path. It absolutely shapes who I am today. There's no two ways about it, that it was a positive benefit. A lot of individuals would do really well going to school close to home. You know, we all grow up in different areas. You may grow up in Lansing and go to MSU. You may grow up just outside of Detroit and go to Wayne State.
Right.
There's opportunities nearby if you're in somewhere like that.
Yeah.
But if you grow up in a more rural area, your options are go find somewhere to go or go local.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to that, right? Just kind of curious because I grew up, same thing. Within a 20-mile radius, I haven't moved,
Yeah.
right? I feel like my whole life.
Yeah.
So I think that even now, so I would say it's looking back at it, I'm kind of always like, well, it would have been kind of cool to kind of leave, but it's not necessarily a requirement, right?
You got it. It's not a requirement.
Right.
And as we transition now from young adulthood to the parent side, let's rope in the individuals who are either A, teachers, or B, parents of school-aged children. How do they navigate these transition times? How do they work through these transitions, help their individual who, let's just speak about clients. We're treating an adolescent or a pediatric patient between the ages of 6 and 17. How do we work with the client and the parent during these times?
It depends because it depends on I always bring the finances into it, but it depends on what's available.
True.
Are the camps available in the area? Logistically, is it possible? Is it financially possible, right? So you can't always recommend, oh yeah, put them in X, Y, and Z and this and this. It also adds more stress to the plate too for the parent as well. So I think you have to take a step back, look at it from a financial standpoint, look at it from a time management standpoint for your job as well, because it depends what the parent's job is. Is it a 9-to-5 job? Do they own their own business, for instance? It may be more hours. Is it a night shift job, right? Are you working 2 jobs as a single mom, whatever it could be, or single dad? So I think you have to look at all those variables and then see what is feasible for yourself. The biggest problem I have, I think, is that a lot of parents, and it's myself probably included and people in general, it's human nature, is, well, my neighbor's doing this or my cousin's doing this, their kids are doing this. You have to look at it, what's feasible for yourself and your kids and your family. Because if you just want to put them in 10 different sports because their friends are doing it, if it adds more stress to your family dynamic, to your home stress, to your financial burden, it just bleeds over into the kid's life as well and into your life. So then your anxiety, your depression, everything's spiking up in the summer months, we'll see, or anxiety spikes up, right? Even though we'll say, well, seasonally it should be in the winter typically, we'll say for a lot of people, especially in Michigan, but we're seeing more anxiety here because of that stress. And then when you get towards the school year, you're like, oh yeah, my kid's going to school soon. I'm going to have that break. When really it should be the reverse, right? The kid's not in school more. How do we enjoy those times a little bit more than saying it's just X, Y, and Z tasks they have to do?
Great answer. Great answer. I think that's almost all encompassing of the topic itself, is just knowing what's doable and what's not doable. I think a lot of times parents will come to me and say they feel like a chauffeur.
Yeah.
I'm taking my kid from one activity, it's dance practice in the morning, it's tennis in the afternoon. Oh, and at night we're taking them to cheerleading. Whatever it might be, it's just we're always on the go. And parents will often joke that they feel busier during the summer.
Yeah.
Because, your kid is at school from 7:30 to 2:30 at least sometime. But during the summer, it's like, hey, I got to keep them occupied during this entire time. In some cases, I'll endorse like workbooks, work through something at home, keep the mind working. In some cases, there's tutoring opportunities, whether it be something like Kumon or different opportunities that individuals can be involved in during the summer educationally. But there's other ways to stimulate young men and young women outside of just screen time, and whether it involves a screen or not. But I think the big fear that parents have is just a kid plopping down in front of a video game or TV for hours at a time and just kind of not doing much with that time, right?
Yeah.
So whether it's physical activity, learning a skill, involving themselves in the community, there's, community events, recreation center, day camps, like we talked about. There are a lot of different opportunities for people to be involved and still strike a balance between restfulness, feeling well prepared for the next school year, but also getting some level of stimulation.
Yeah. No matter where you are in your life, young, middle, older, right, adult, or child, right, balance is the biggest thing I would say, for us included, right? So the biggest takeaway, I think, is just finding your balance in general for you and your family.
Absolutely. I think this was a good topic. Yeah. I think this is an apropos time to talk about it. It's nice to be able to dive into the different age ranges, and we hope you came along with us today on the pathway.